Hey, well, we're live. Hey!
Oh, yeah, there it is. All right.
Oh, what's up? Welcome back to season 2 of the Demand Better podcast. We are your consumer's guide in the health, fitness, and wellness space. We are sponsored by Fit Care Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the emphasis is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. Healthcare space. My name is Corona, and I'm coming to you from the concrete jungle, New York City. And I am joined by my co-host, Dr. Bo Babenko, who's in Erie, Colorado, and the returning champion. What's up, Bo?
What's up? I don't know what I'm a champion of, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
I like saying that you're returning champion. Makes me happy.
Good. Yeah, man. Kiddo's 10 months old in a day or two, dealing with new stuff every day. Did his first sign, all done. And yeah, he waved bye-bye.
Rayo? Rayo?
Ray. Raptor Ray.
Dude, I'm so happy for you. I'm not happy for your Jets. They don't look great. All right. So today we are just going to revisit a conversation regarding personal training. I've been seeing a lot of things out there that really don't sit well with me, and I just thought we should get back to this. And Dr. Bo and I have been talking offline and having this conversation on a regular loop. It's kind of getting old. Because I keep talking about the same nonsense. But let's revisit the 5. Bo, take it, man.
You have the list in front of you.
Oh, I have okay, my dad. So the 5 that we came up with is from our last episode was try 5. And what we were discussing in that episode was basically try 5 trainers to find what you need in terms of what you're looking for and who might be that fit. You know, in a lot of situations, you know, we deal with people just train because they train with somebody else or the person they're working with. It looks good. Your thoughts, Bo? Quick on the revisit.
Yeah, I think that like anything else, it's easy to think that whatever's in front of you is good enough. Yeah. And I think that we want to demand better. That is literally, guys listening, this is what this show started with, was Corona and I catching up. I remember I was driving down in California from Los Angeles down to Dana Point. I was like, hey, let's catch up. And we started going down this path of like, yeah, we are in agreement that there's a lot of the same nonsense that we keep seeing. We wish it was better. So you know what? Why don't we demand better? Why don't we help people understand how to push the envelope and what they should be expecting? And if you're spending, again, over $100 on a 1-hour session with another human being who's training you, again, if you walk away from that and you feel good, like I can't discredit that, but over the course of a year, if ultimately you haven't improved your ability to get up and down off the floor, if you haven't improved the way you wake up, if you haven't improved your sex drive, like, which is a lot of the things that we see with age, if these folks aren't improving your bone density for that older population, a lot of stuff we covered in season 1, I think that ultimately our goal here is to help you demand better.
So remember that try 5. Number 2 we came up with was title confusion. Listen, because a lot of people have a lot of letters behind their name, doesn't mean that they're going to be able to train you. There are many people, I've said this before, that have trained, that I know have trained who don't have who are very, very good at what they do, who don't have a lot of letters after their name. And there's also some people that I wouldn't recommend, but there's people I know who have no certifications who are good trainers. But don't get it twisted. Just because they have a lot of letters behind their name doesn't make them great. Back to you, Bo. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and the other side of that coin is just because they have a 6-pack and they have that physique that you want to chase, most likely it's not the same scenario. So if you're a 40-year-old man and you see a 20-year-old kid who's got a 6-pack and he's working on his modeling career or his acting career, which is, again, I saw that a lot of that in New York City.
Yes.
And a lot of people would say, hey, I want to go see that guy. He's got, like, have you seen his photos on Instagram? Like, that's what I want to look like. And again, you're 30 pounds overweight or whatever the situation is. Like, great that you want to chase that. But again, that guy's genetically like that. Like, he might work hard. You know, Lance Armstrong cheated in the whole Tour de, you know, all his bike racing. But you know, he cheated, but he also, you know, he was one of the hardest workers. He had that reputation for being one of the hardest workers out there. Should that have taken away from his greatness? I don't know. I don't want to veer too far down that tangent, but he's still out there. He's still working hard. But yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, bottom line for me is that's the other side of that coin. And back to you of the fact that, yeah, just those letters, there's a lot of confusion. It is, and it's challenging, guys. I think for us who are in the industry, we see how the sausage is made, so to speak. We still, like, it's hard to, we have our ways of saying, oh, that guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I'm going to follow him on Instagram and check out what kind of content he's putting out. And again, some people are very good at putting out content on social media, and they're very good at capturing that storytelling, building a story brand, all that kind of stuff, marketing. But again, that doesn't mean they're the best trainer. A lot of the best trainers are very bad at storytelling. They're very good at training. So, it's really fun. I'll shout out a few of my favorite folks that I think they do a good job on social media, but they're not, again, necessarily going to they should have 10 million followers. Yeah. Whereas the knees over toes guy, for anyone who follows him, Ben Patrick, again, I don't agree with 100% of what he says. I like that he's kind of being a renegade and changing some of the way that the healthcare space talks about the industry. But yeah, he doesn't have any letters behind his name, to your point. He's just really good at marketing. He's a good looking guy, again, in the sunshine. He's got a beautiful family. He's dunking basketballs. He's like, hey, if you want to be able to do this like I did, follow my program. And that's another part of that confusion and conversation versus, someone like Coach Dan John, who's considered one of the, Mount Rushmores, in my opinion, of the fitness industry. Mike Reinold is another one that, again, like, I would say he's not the best marketer in the world, but again, I would definitely listen to everything he says. And I put him up there again on that pedestal. Another one real quick is Mike Boyle, who hates CrossFit more than you do.
I know he does. I love him. I love him.
Because of that, just because
Coach
of the
Boyle. No, Coach Boyle's great, man. Coach Boyle's great.
But again, like, if you go on his Instagram, it's not the sexiest stuff. He has kids doing the same thing, skater squats. He's pointing this out, and that's the thing is the industry, when you understand the science, when you're seeing how there's only so many ways we can make the sausage. And then when people start trying to put like gold flakes or do the Salt Bay, whatever thing, and sprinkle it and make it look a little sexier, there's no real validity to that, again, but it might catch some eyes. So that's the conversation we're trying to have.
Yeah. And that brings us to the third point here, which is from our last episode, which is professionalism. You were talking about the model that's a trainer, and I've seen trainers who are actors who are reading scripts while they're training people, or they're doing something else. Listen, if someone's in their phone and they're just paying attention to their phone and they're returning texts, this is your time. This is your time. You cultivate the way you want this being presented to you, and you have that conversation with the trainer. You need to be professional, and part of the professionalism is getting your damn face out of your phone. I see it all the time. It annoys me beyond anything else, like Bo is doing right now. But with that being, and it's not just looking into your phone, it's also giving the client what they need, and meeting them where they're at. Your thoughts on that, Bo?
Yeah, this takes us to one of our main topics for today. So I think we got most of the episode 1 recap. Switching the banner here. So we talked about train smarter, not harder. And the other concept there is that therapeutic alliance we were talking about offline, where I think I see it a little bit more in the healthcare space and a little bit less in the fitness space sometimes, where in the fitness space, it's like, great, if you're training for a triathlon, there is a way to push that. And you might want to find a trainer who knows how to do triathlon, and they're going to improve your time in that triathlon. But if you have a little more ambiguous goals, you just want to lose weight, you want to, feel better in your body, maybe we keep seeing that disconnect of people wanting, and in their mind, they think they know better than us, the professionals. They think like, oh, but I really want to wait, whatever it is. I have a client who wants to Olympic weightlift. And I'm saying, okay, well, you have to get these fundamentals first before you can do that. Because right now your shoulders don't have the mobility overhead. And the more you keep skipping those early steps, the more likely it's like trying to drive an F1 car without the basic concept of like how to shift gears or when to, lean into a turn or all those. I'm not an F1 driver, believe it or not. So bottom line for me is train smarter, not harder. That's one of the biggest things we want to talk about today. Of again, coming back to that concept where we see a lot of people chasing the harder. That's where Soul Cycle, Peloton, definitely succeeded to some extent. But the point that we are seeing, and I think, again, we've been following this whole industry the whole time we've been in it, which is many decades now combined. We are old people, folks. Some older than others. But but the point is that feeling the burn, that like next day soreness, that makes you think you're doing the thing. But if we test you again in 6 months, in a year, in 10 years, are we really seeing that actual scientific, like long-term plan? That comes back to that therapeutic alliance I was talking about. Of, again, it's great if you want to feel better in the next session. It's great if you want to, have whatever, go down a few pant sizes. Again, another common kind of stereotypical goal for a lot of people in the fitness industry is, oh, I have a wedding coming up. I want to fit in this dress, or I want to look good for the photos. And it's having that conversation of like, yeah, but what if we could keep that going like forever? Like what if that becomes your new norm? And that's another thing I talk about with folks. It's going from, I want to be that person, or I see this person on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, to becoming like, I am a person who will work out 4 days a week, 45 minutes a week or whatever. I go for 4 runs a week, whatever that is, but it becomes that identity. So that's the part where building that plan is the tricky part, where what do you want? And that comes back to a lot of these other pieces we're talking about. I'm trying to synthesize it all. So you got to jump in here and cut me off, dude. But it's where if you don't have that assessment, which was one of our original 5 recap pieces, if you don't have that customization, then we're missing the boat. Because again, you're going to get a cookie cutter approach. You're going to get a program that's being given out to a college kid, and it's also being given to a 60-year-old, grandmother. Like that's not conducive. Even though they probably should have similar goals of getting stronger, moving better, doing better, kind of performance-based things. We could talk about all that, but the point is, it needs to be modified in better ways, so that it's not just, hey, I want you to have a 6-pack, or I want you to have that difficult feeling of your quads are burning. And again, I don't put a lot of ab work into my sessions, into my programming, because I don't think it drives the needle. But people are always saying like, hey, can I do some more abs? Like, you can do them.
They don't say abs, they say core.
Well, whatever.
Core, give me core. Give me core. Well, yeah, I'm going to stop you because I'm going to stop you at that, because I think you just rolled us right where I think we need to go here. The dumbing down of the industry is something that has been going on and on and on, and it's been accelerated, I think, by the pandemic. And I also think that people think it doesn't matter what you do or what you do, because it's not going to affect you. If you're doing movement incorrectly, the chances of you getting injured dramatically go up. I don't know how I can put my hand through a screen to adjust somebody. Bo is one of the few people that I know that really can do, you can train online, and you've done it. When you're in Dubai, you had to do it with the people in Dubai that are. I'm sure you still talk to them and work with them. But what we've gone into is that they've really dumbed down this industry. William Wright, who was on with us a long time ago, said personal trainer is an uneducated man's profession, because anybody can get in it, and the baseline to get in is very low in terms of what you need to do to take care of someone's most important asset, which is themselves. And as we keep going on and on and on, we're looking at more and more people doing the online training. And I'm not saying it's bad. If you have a client that is going away, that's a good way to stay in contact with them. But to start off there, when you have misfirings of muscles and things overactive and underactive, things that are overactive and they're dominating your world and they're causing you pain, that I'm going to go on to this thing. I'm going to start an exercise program. How do you know that's going to help you? You need to sit down. You really need to get a professional. I tell everybody, look, training's really, really expensive. What you can do is you can take a session and get a plan made and then move that forward. But people aren't doing that. And I'm just fed up. I'm literally fed up with the industry of dumbing down this industry and making it like everybody can do it and really be effective. And it's the long-term view that we need to keep in mind, because you and I have always said this is about longevity and well-being. This is about staying out of the doctor's office. Your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's my whole business, right? Fitness, fit care. If you focus on your fitness, then you can avoid the healthcare space. And so I think there's just a huge disconnect and a huge gap still between, like you're talking about, the what fitness is focusing on and how people define fitness. Again, Peloton is a small part of fitness. If that's your main movement practice, then there's just huge deficiencies. It's frustrating. And then when you go get your blood work done, it's like, why didn't my cholesterol get better? Why am I losing my sex drive as I get older? Whatever the symptoms are, we put down here, muscle is the organ of longevity. And more importantly, I think muscle is the organ of well-being, because that's the part that's missing. Again, a lot of people are scared to strength train. We see this a lot more with women. They don't want to get bulky. They think it's not a feminine thing. But at the end of the day, we don't need to do a full dive on this. I think we've covered this in a lot of episodes, but I think that, again, that's the huge piece that's missing for long term. Again, we've been doing this a while. We don't want to keep emphasizing that fact, but the thing that I always analogize, and I found I just have to be saying it a lot more, especially as people get older, I think people seem to understand the 401k concept, saving money for retirement, whatever that concept is, and wherever you are in that stage of it. I wish I had more financial literacy as a younger man.
Me too.
I think most people do. I think it's one of the common things that people say that should really be taught in school. And if folks are out there and they have someone in high school or college, and they can, we're talking to Dan Lerner, a professor at NYU, and he talks about some of these concepts, not specifically financial literacy, but he talks about being a better college student and how that all connects. And again, happiness, that we're interviewing him in 2 days here, the science of happiness, but how that all connects back to this concept is, to me, building muscle is the same as saving more money, because as we get older, those bank fees, the analogous bank fees, get higher and higher. And the more money you actually have in your account, again, that money being muscle, strength, ability to do work, that's what's going to sustain you. And when you get to 65 or even 85, that's the piece that we need to start building earlier. Now, that's the reason I'm in the gym as much as I can be there, and I'm focusing on. I have limited time with a baby, with 2 full-time jobs, kind of. Some might even say 3 full-time jobs. But the point is, if I get 4 sessions in the gym, and I get 30 minutes to an hour, I'm thrilled, and I got to figure out how to get the most out of my time. And where's my time best used? Probably, in my opinion, with lifting as heavy of an object as I can over and over again until my body gets tired and there's some kind of response. And again, I've done this long enough that I know, okay, cool, I only have that 30 minutes. I'm going to, again, yesterday I had a limited time. What did I do? I did deadlifts up to 380 pounds, which, some people are like, whoa, that's a big number, whatever. Like for me, that's like, yeah, it's pretty good. And then I did push press with 90 pounds per hand, which again, like I was just like, I just want to lift as heavy of a thing as I can, as safely as I can. I want a little bit of a stimulus. Is it the perfect plan? No. Is it a better plan than most people? I think so. So that's the conversation. I'll throw it back to you, because I know I'm rambling a bit here.
But when we're dealing with this, is we have to get to the concept of this. Most of the people that we deal with, and listen, I have people in their 20s that I work with. They're normally serious, but I will say that we're seeing breakdown as early as 30 years of age. We're starting to see breakdown and malfunction. Remember, there's 168 hours in a week. You do something repetitive. So if you're going to the office, you sit in that same chair, you have the same desk setup, you're doing the same thing repetitively over and over and over again. And if you go to the gym for 4 times a week, to try to offset that is kind of hard, because you still do stuff for 164 hours the way you do your routine, which is your basic routine of going to work every single day. We need to really, really, really change the mindset of people so that they can come with us on this ride. Listen, I am 55 years old. I just turned 55 on Wednesday.
You don't look a day over 57.
That joke's old, and you've used it before. So, but with that being said, I basically don't have any pain at all. And all I'm telling people is that I have function in my body. I can do it. If I got to go run, I can go run. I can do a lot of things. I can do lateral works. I was just doing side-to-side speed skater jumps earlier today. There are things that you can do that we keep thinking, oh, I'm getting older. I can't do that. You're wrong. You can do anything that you put your mind to. And a body that gets hurt 9 times out of 10 is not a well-trained body, because your body should be able to go through numerous different types of stress and be able to come out well. And we're just not focusing on that anymore. What a lot of the focus is the sexy that we talked about in episode 1, which people are doing sexy, crazy stuff. And look at that over there. That stuff, what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you other than getting attention in the gym? If that's what you're looking for, that's great. But I'm talking about longevity, and we're really listen. September's around the corner. If you're coming off of summer and you haven't done anything all summer, this is a great time to go out and get a trainer. This is a great time to go out and start your journey. By the way, when you get that trainer, it's not going to happen overnight. It's a journey. It's a complete journey. Like Bo says, he can get you better in 30 minutes. He can bet you in 30 days. He can do a lot better in 30 years. If you do the right thing and you have a plan that fits that client, which is going to roll us into the customer service process of this, that you will actually enhance yourself and get stronger and get better. And as you age, it's about longevity. And I know people that are 10 years younger than me that are already showing signs of what I see in my mother, who's 93.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Let's really start thinking about this. Fitness isn't easy. It's not. There is a science. It's not for you. You have to learn the science to actually be able to do what we do.
And I would say our job is to take that complexity, again, how the sausage is made, and say, hey, here's the sausage. Like, eat it, enjoy it, put a little mustard on it, whatever works for you. But that's my goal, is working with someone. And to your point of, hey, are you ready to commit for 6 months? Are you ready to commit for a year? And I ask for that payment up front, especially with my virtual work. It becomes a bigger connection rather than showing up every session. More in-person type stuff is a very different model. It's a different mindset, where online, or I do the hybrid where I might see someone once a week. I have a new guy I just started with this week, going through cancer treatment, things like that. And he just wants to get ahead of it. It's a very treatable form of it. So without going into too many details, but he just saying, hey, like, I need that wake up call. I have some, goals that I want to stay ahead of. And as I heal through this, I want to be able to get as strong as possible. And whatever that wake up call is for folks, I always say this, when we have a funeral, that's the only time, like, you catch up with people. And it's sad that we have to wait for that, or the wake up call of, like, hey, you have this diagnosis, like, it's time to get fit. It's like, well, why do we have to wait for that? And I think a lot of times people have tried, again, what's the norm? And they might have even worked with a personal trainer and been like, yeah, I didn't really see the results. It was costing me this much. Like, we come back to that demanding better for your value. So again, if you're spending over $100 for an hour, even if you go once a week, we're talking about over $400 a month. There's definitely trainers who charge less. And again, you're getting kind of somewhat, you can get deals and have a great trainer for $50 a month, maybe, or $50 a session. So, without getting into all those details, my point I want to come back to try to synthesize this is that when I work with somebody, again, I get that buy-in. I want to make sure we're on the same page. And yeah, not everyone's going to enjoy that concept, or that's not for them, and they're not ready to make that buy-in, and that's okay. And maybe they need to go through the process of working with that 25-year-old kid because they're less expensive, but they're going to push them more. That's fine. So back to your point about fitness is complicated. It is, but to me, it's still very simple. We go back to the vital signs. How well can you get up and down off the floor? How good is your knee? This is my knee up here for anyone watching. How good is your knee range of motion, your shoulder range of motion, all that kind of stuff? How well do you move? How well do you squat? How well do you lunge? All these things, they're very simple, but we might have to have, just like if you take your car into the mechanic, like I don't think cars are that complicated. I don't know. I'm not an expert on it, but the point is, like, I think on the backside of it, the people who know what they're doing, it's very simple to them. They're like, yeah, you have leaking going on here. And like, but it's like $2,500. We just took our Subaru in for checkup and we have an oil leak. And they're like, yeah, it's going to cost $2,500 to repair this. So I'm like, well, isn't it just like a simple thing? But there is time for other things. Yeah.
Well, this kind of rolls us into that client we had offline, where I had that client come in who's in their 50s, a couple, and he basically said to me, he goes, I feel better when I'm working with you. I don't have those aches and pains. But the workouts are just, just not. I'm not ready for this. I need to build up to this, and you need to drop weight. Is you need to lose weight because you're overweight. But you're going to go to the 25-year-old trainer who's going to condition the crap out of you. You're going to walk out of there with feeling exhausted and broken, and there's going to be no back on care on that. It's just, I'm going to keep breaking you over and over again until you lose weight, and eventually that becomes old also. So I think as far as our mindsets are as people, we really, really need to look at when we decide to make this move, or if we're already in the gym, we really need to decide on what we want. Are we here? What are we here for? And what do we want? How do we feel? Am I getting stuff that I never had before? Am I getting back pain all of a sudden now? It's not all of a sudden. It's an accumulation of you repeatedly doing stuff over and over and over and over again. Which brings us to the other client I told you about, not my client, but somebody else's client, with the customer service piece of this, which essentially, listen, if you're hiring somebody and you're going out of your way to do this, they have to meet you where they're at. They have to meet you where they're at. Don't accept another program for somebody that he made for somebody else or she made for somebody else to be put on you so that you as a person can be, oh, that Susie had that. Well, you're not Susie, man. You're not Susie, and you don't do the same thing Susie does. And she is getting that specific program. That might not even work for Susie because that might have been for Bo. So I think when we're dealing with trainers, we really have to demand customer service. We really need to demand for them to meet us where we're at. We really need to demand for them to actually do the work for us, for what we need, what we personally need, so that we can excel. This isn't a one size fits all. It takes work. Just like the car analogy, you don't go take a Honda to a Mercedes dealer. I mean, you know what I mean? Maybe they could do it. I don't know. I'm not a car guy. So what am I doing?
we're New York City guys, so yeah.
So I'm not really a car guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, the customer service aspect and what I'm seeing in the gyms right now, this is like I'm saying it again, it's a perfect time to hire someone coming into the fall and really getting yourself on a new path forward. You've had your drinks in the summer if you were hanging out, you've been at the pool, you've done all your stuff. Now let's get back to work. I believe you should be doing it all year round, but now let's get back to work. If you're going to make a move, make that move now, because you can have tremendous benefits. And if you're patient, you'll have those benefits come to you much quicker than you think.
Yeah, the best time to start was 10 years ago, or the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time is today. Yeah. Well, I was going to take it to the quote, to our favorite quote here. So, Corona brought this up. I'll give him that credit, although it's Richard Branson's quote, but we'll give him the credit for the quote. That you should train people well enough so they can leave, and treat them well enough so they don't want to. And that comes back to, again, our thought of, where are you going to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 30 years from now? That whole Bo 30 concept that I kind of came up with of in 30 minutes, I can help you move better. But we got to put a plan in place for the next 30 days. And then that should take us into the next 30 years. And so you have that. And again, when I get people on the 6 month, 1 year plan, I tell folks that, yeah, look, again, I know what the industry looks like, even the healthcare space. And I'm confident that no matter what your background is, you could be a car mechanic and have had no formal training in how the human body works. But 6 months of working with me, I think you're going to know more than 90% of what the fitness industry, what even the healthcare space, understands. I don't expect you to start going out and I'm deputizing you to go train other clients, but let's be very clear about that. But at the same time, I want you to feel like you can leave and do the thing on your own. And I want to treat you well enough that you're like, oh, like I get a lot of value out of working with Bo, which is, again, I'm pretty proud of my client history and keeping in touch with clients and things like that. I just had a client at the house who I saw a few years ago, and she came back and said, hey, like, can you see me? My knee's bugging me. Like, yeah, let's take a look at it. Let's see what things we can push on and how we can modify whatever you have going on and give you the best advice we can. And again, my goal is not, if I really wanted to, I think, and there's a lot of these kind of charlatans out there, but again, they might be providing value. And at the end of the day, if people are willing to pay for it, great. But my goal is always to say, hey, like, yeah, this is my hourly rate. I'll even cut it down for you since you're going to drive to me and come to my house. and if you're willing to come and do that, great. But yeah, I could certainly be making more money selling programs, kind of drawing it out again, being like, I need to see you twice a week in person. I think people are going to respect that, doctor of physical therapy, and that's the plan we need. But I don't think that's the plan we need. I'd rather you be. I'm pushing to keep your costs down. So I could probably be making a lot more money in this whole thing. But yeah, I want to give you that concept. And look, if you want to see me twice a week, great, we can figure it out. And there's definitely people who benefit from that. But we're talking about some different models here. So yeah, what do you think of that?
I think the quote is, I believe that every single person that's worked with me can train. If God forbid something happened to me, I think that they would be able to figure out how to find a trainer, what to expect in a trainer, and what they would demand for in a trainer. I think my job isn't to be the drug pusher and give you some drugs so you come back again. My job is to actually enhance your life so you can see yourself pushing forward. It's not just come in and get a workout, because that's not what it is. There's more to this than just that. The workout itself is going to change. If they're doing their job, the workout's going to change as you change. And my thing is, as a trainer, my biggest thing I have is my client and my client's well-being, and meeting them where I always say, meeting them exactly where they're at. And as they change, meeting them there again, and pushing the envelope so that they can have longevity and they can evolve physically, in all aspects of your life physically, because it's vitally important when you're going out for somebody and working with somebody that they actually educate you. I think it's the most important thing ever. Everything's easier when you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing and you don't know what the exercise, if you don't care, that's on you. But if you really want to take the next level, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say you don't have a lot of money. So you're only going to be meeting with the trainer once a month or once every 2 weeks. There's people out there that will say, no. You got to meet me 4 times a week. You got to meet me 3 times a week. You got it. And that's not going to work. You need to find someone who will meet you that 1 time a week, educate you enough so you can go forward, program for you so it will help you to your next step. And then coming back and you go back in. Training's not always 5 days a week. Training isn't always, I got to go 4 days a week. It is whatever you are, where you're at. I don't know your finances when you meet with me, but I will work with you to get you from point A to point B, no matter where you are financially. And I think that's vitally important. If the trainer's out there coming at you and saying you got to do X 6 days a week or 5 days a week, listen, it's not my money, but I'll say this to you: you're not really training smarter. And that's the whole point of this one, really, is to train smarter, not harder. We're trying to get you guys, we're trying to push you to a place where you're the most educated consumer possible out there, and you're doing what's best for you and not what's best for somebody else.
You said it perfectly, my friend. Let's wrap it up there.
Right.
I think we covered a lot of good ground.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a topic that we're going to keep revisiting. Like we talked about, this is what kind of started this whole piece, where again, there's a lot wrong with the fitness space. There's a lot wrong with the healthcare space. There's a lot of misinformation, and there's people taking advantage of that basic human psychology of saying, like, yeah, I want that burn in my legs. That's how I think I'm getting a good workout. But it's not. Again, it's like saying, hey, use this credit card and you can get that $5,000 purchase this month. And they're not talking about the APR and 22% and all this other stuff where it's like, oh, there's all these hidden fees and all that kind of stuff. So we're here to hopefully say, hey, what's actually really good is to set aside $1,000 a month or whatever into your retirement plan. And that's how you're going to, really 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 40 years from now, be in a much better position and be able to do all the things you want to do. So yeah, I keep coming back to that longevity and figuring out how, again, whatever that goal is you have, challenging it, continuing to revisit it, continuing to have that conversation with your trainer, with your therapist, with whoever it is, with your partner in life, with yourself, of coming back to what do you really want to get out of this thing? And what's there's some interesting stuff. And I think we're going to cover some of that on the science of happiness and how does, that's one question I'm looking forward to asking Mr. Lerner there, Professor Lerner, of, where does fitness fit into happiness for most people? I've been listening to a lot of his stuff preparing for that episode, and there's, he talked about optimism
Yes.
as a big part versus pessimism, and again, if we're all like, yeah, when I turn 40, like, all my classmates are having knee surgeries or having back pain, and they're complaining about this stuff, and our bodies are breaking down, and that's just a normal thing. Well, it's not normal, guys. It's common. We talk about all that again, time and time again. So I think it's important to bring it back to that, again, overwhelming concept of we can demand better from, yeah.
No, listen, if you haven't listened to us before and you listen to us today, thank you. But we want to be your consumer's guide in the health, fitness, and wellness space. We are here to empower you all. And we want to make sure that you have the right information. So when you go out and make a purchase for yourself and for your most important asset, that you're actually educated enough and be able, confident enough to know the ins and outs. So that's our episode for today. But first, I want to say thank you to all of you for taking time out of your busy day to be with us. If you like the show, you can help us by writing a review or like, share, or subscribing to the Demand Better podcast. We are sponsored by Fit Care Physiotherapy and Wellness, where the idea is to focus on your fitness so you can avoid the healthcare space. Thanks again, and we're going to see you in 2 days. Science of Happiness, Professor Lerner. Get ready. It's going to be an amazing, amazing episode. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.
Purse. If you guys have